As we reach the final phase of this journey through the best football players of 2025, this part is about clarity, recognition, and legacy. Because after all the debates, performances, and unforgettable moments, certain names rise above the rest and define this era of football. Names that fans across the world recognize instantly. Names that dominate headlines, stadiums, and conversations. And in 2025, the elite circle of world football includes Kylian Mbappé, Erling Haaland, Jude Bellingham, Kevin De Bruyne, Mohamed Salah, Lionel Messi, Vinicius Jr., Rodri, Harry Kane, Antoine Griezmann, Bernardo Silva, Bukayo Saka, Phil Foden, Virgil van Dijk, Akram Hakimi, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Alisson Becker, Thibaut Courtois, Jan Oblak, Neymar Jr., Son Heung-min, Robert Lewandowski, Luka Modric, Federico Valverde, Pedri, Gavi, Lamine Yamal, Jamal Musiala, Rafael Leao, Victor Osimhen, Lautaro Martinez, Kvicha Kvaratskhelia, Joao Cancelo, Ruben Dias, William Saliba, Ronald Araujo, Theo Hernandez, Mike Maignan, Emiliano Martinez, Cristiano Ronaldo, and Karim Benzema. Players from different generations, leagues, and roles, all united by one thing: elite impact at the highest level of football in 2025, representing goals, assists, control, leadership, creativity, defensive strength, and decisive moments. And these names together form the definitive snapshot of football's top tier in this era. A reminder that while tactics evolve and systems change, greatness in football is ultimately remembered by the players who define their time and leave their mark on the game forever. In 2025, football stands at one of the most fascinating crossroads in its history, a moment where generations collide. Legends are still performing at the highest level, and a new wave of superstars is redefining what greatness looks like on the global stage. And when we talk about the best football players of 2025, we are not just talking about goals, assists, or trophies. We are talking about influence, consistency, pressure, big game performances, and the ability to decide matches when the entire world is watching. And at the very center of this conversation is Kylian Mbappé, a player who in 2025 remains one of football's most dominant forces, combining blistering pace, elite finishing, and leadership on the biggest nights, whether in league competition or international tournaments. Mbappé represents the modern superstar, a player expected to deliver every single match, while alongside him stands Mohamed Salah, whose longevity at the top level has become one of the most underrated stories of modern football. Still producing elite numbers, still deciding massive games, and still carrying the weight of expectations for club and country in a way very few players in history ever have. And then there is Kevin De Bruyne, a midfielder whose intelligence, vision, and passing range continue to define how football is played at the highest level in 2025. A player who doesn't just create chances, but controls the rhythm of entire matches, dictating tempo like a chess grandmaster on grass. While Jude Bellingham represents the rise of the complete modern midfielder, a player whose impact goes far beyond statistics, combining physicality, technical quality, leadership, and decisive moments, showing in 2025 that age is no longer a limitation for dominance. And speaking of dominance, Erling Haaland remains one of the most terrifying strikers in world football, a pure goal-scoring machine whose presence alone changes how opponents defend, forcing entire tactical systems to collapse just to contain him, while at the same time players like Vinicius Jr. continue to elevate the art of wing play, blending flair, explosiveness, and end product, becoming a constant nightmare for defenders in one-on-one situations. And when we look at midfield control and elegance, Rodri's importance cannot be overstated, as he represents the heartbeat of elite teams in 2025, a player whose positioning, composure, and decision-making allow attacking stars to shine while silently winning matches. And no discussion of the best players of 2025 would be complete without acknowledging Lionel Messi's legacy impact, because even as his role changes, his presence still defines football conversations, reminding the world what sustained greatness looks like, while young phenoms like Lamine Yamal symbolize football's future, showcasing fearlessness, creativity, and maturity beyond their years, proving that the next era has already begun. And in defense, players like Virgil van Dijk continue to set the standard for elite center-backs, combining leadership, aerial dominance, and calmness under pressure, while fullbacks such as Achraf Hakimi redefine their roles as attacking weapons without sacrificing defensive responsibility. And between the posts, goalkeepers like Thibaut Courtois and Alisson Becker remain match winners in their own right, reminding fans that football's biggest moments are often decided by a single save just as much as a single goal. And what truly defines the best players of 2025 is not just raw talent, but consistency across competitions. The ability to perform in domestic leagues, continental tournaments, and international football all within the same season, under relentless scrutiny from fans, media, and opponents. And this era of football is unique because greatness is no longer measured by one tournament or one highlight reel moment, but by sustained excellence across multiple fronts. And as debates rage on across social media, television panels, and stadiums worldwide about who truly deserves the title of the best player, what becomes clear is that 2025 is not defined by one undisputed king, but by a constellation of elite footballers, each dominating the game in their own way, each pushing the sport forward, and each reminding us why football remains the world's most powerful and emotional game, a sport where one player can change history, one moment can define a legacy, and one season can elevate a name into immortality, making the best players of 2025 not just athletes, but symbols of an era that future generations will look back on and say this was when football truly evolved. As we continue deeper into the story of football's elite in 2025, it becomes clear that this era is defined not just by individual brilliance, but how these players carry expectation, pressure, and legacy on their shoulders every single week. Because being among the best players of 2025 means performing when defenses are prepared, when tactics are built specifically to stop you, and when millions are waiting for you to fail. And this is where players like Jude Bellingham truly separate themselves, because his rise is not fueled by hype alone, but by decisive goals, commanding midfield performances, and an aura of leadership that belies his age, making him not just a future superstar, but a present-day force. While Erling Haaland's dominance in front of goal continues to challenge how football measures greatness, as he doesn't rely on flair or aesthetics, but on ruthless efficiency, positioning, and physical superiority, scoring goals that feel inevitable, turning matches into countdowns rather than contests. And then there is Vinicius Jr., whose journey to becoming one of the best players of 2025 represents resilience as much as talent, a player who transformed criticism into confidence, developing end product to match his explosiveness, becoming the kind of winger who doesn't just excite crowds, but decides trophies. And in midfield battles where control decides outcomes, Kevin De Bruyne's influence remains unmatched, a reminder that football intelligence can be just as devastating as speed or strength. As his passes don't just find teammates, they dismantle defensive structures, creating chaos with surgical precision, while Rodri's role as the silent general of midfield continues to grow in importance as he embodies the modern football paradox of being indispensable yet rarely glamorous, dominating matches through positioning, interceptions, and calm distribution, allowing attacking stars to shine while anchoring entire systems. And when we talk about the best players of 2025, we must also recognize the importance of defenders who have redefined expectations, like Virgil van Dijk, whose presence alone can stabilize a backline, neutralize elite attackers, and restore confidence to an entire team, proving that defensive excellence is just as valuable as goal-scoring heroics. And alongside him, fullbacks such as Achraf Hakimi symbolize how roles have evolved, no longer confined to defensive duties, but acting as engines of attack, stretching the pitch, creating overloads, and contributing decisively in the final third. And in goal, players like Alisson Becker and Thibaut Courtois continue to remind the world that the best players of 2025 are not judged solely by highlight reels, but by moments under extreme pressure, moments where one save can alter the destiny of a season, a final, or even a nation. And beyond the established stars, 2025 also belongs to the fearless young talents stepping onto the world stage with confidence rather than caution, with Lamine Yamal standing as the clearest symbol of football's future, playing with creativity, bravery, and maturity beyond his years, showing that the next generation is not waiting for permission to take over. They are already here, challenging veterans and reshaping hierarchies. And what makes this era so compelling is that greatness is no longer centralized. It is spread across leagues, positions, and styles, from explosive forwards to controlling midfielders, from defensive leaders to game-changing goalkeepers, creating endless debate about who truly deserves the title of the best. And yet this debate itself is proof of football's health, because when the margin between players is so thin, when excellence becomes the minimum requirement, it means the sport has reached an extraordinary competitive level. And as fans argue, analysts compare statistics, and history quietly begins to judge, one truth becomes undeniable. The best players of 2025 are not just defined by what they win, but how they influence the game, inspire teammates, terrify opponents, and leave lasting memories in moments that will be replayed for decades. Moments where stadiums erupt, silence falls, and football once again proves why it remains unmatched in its ability to unite, divide, and captivate the world like no other sport on earth.